said there are very serious internal problems at the court that ultimately law enforcement will have to sort out. Howard Schweber is a court expert from the UW Political Science Department, and he joins us tonight to talk about the incident that once again has put Wisconsin in the national spotlight. Nice to see you. Welcome back to Live at 5.
Thanks for having me.
You, I understand, have taken this even a step further, and you say this alleged incident makes Wisconsin the laughingstock.
Well, I think it really does. And you have to look at this incident as the last in a whole series of events. If you go back just 10, 15 years, our state Supreme Court was a national model of integrity and probity and professionalism. And what's happened since then? We've had 2 justices facing ethics charges while sitting on the bench. We've had a series of increasingly negative and nasty elections, supposedly nonpartisan, but in fact run by party professionals and heavily funded by outside interests with very obvious partisan agendas. We've had the court inserting itself directly into the midst of this incredibly contentious budget repair bill, and now this. It's very difficult, I think, for people in Wisconsin and outside Wisconsin to take seriously the idea that our state Supreme Court is above the fray rather than just another partisan political entity.
Well, we don't know a lot yet about exactly what happened, and obviously that's something that we'll learn in the days to come, but some have wondered whether the way media and the amount of media that's out there has impacted this.
It may very well have. It's worth pointing out that these things tend to happen to Justice Prosser quite a lot. They happened to him when he was in the Assembly. And there have been previous incidents in the court. He has a temper. Chief Justice Abramson can be caustic. Justice Bradley is a sharp wit. These are all strong personalities and big egos. So obviously, you know, I take it as given that whatever happened, there was escalation involved and more than one party bears at least some of the blame. But again, to me, the bigger story is the way this plays in terms of the way the people of Wisconsin look at their institution. I think Governor Walker is exactly right. The real point is not to determine which of the 2 justices attacked the other. The real point is that we're having the Sheriff's Department engage in a criminal investigation about the conduct of state Supreme Court justices in chambers. That's remarkable and deeply disappointing.
Yeah, well, and what is this veil of secrecy almost that there is with the court? This alleged incident happened 2 weeks ago, and very few people have been willing to come forward and confirm or deny what happened in the chambers.
Right, and the initial reports were, of course, anonymous, and this just feeds the partisan frenzy. There are conspiracy theories that this is a group of liberals trying to discredit Justice Prosser, and there are conspiracy theories that it's a group of conservatives trying to establish Justice Prosser as a victim and discredit Justice Bradley, and there are calls and countercalls for someone to resign. Again, we don't know what happened in that room, and I certainly have no information whatsoever as to who may have attacked whom, but certainly this goes to just cheapening the notion of the court as an institution above the political fray. At this point, when we're at the situation where Governor Walker, and whatever one thinks of his policies, certainly he's presided over a singularly fractious period in Wisconsin politics and in the Wisconsin legislature, and he's turning around and telling the justices to start behaving like grown-ups. That's not a good sign.
Right. So what is next? If there are criminal charges, what happens next?
Well, I think potentially a number of things. Certainly the Judicial Conduct Commission might want to step in and take action if there are criminal charges. It's perfectly possible there will be serious calls for resignations. And I think more than that, the justices on the court across the ideological spectrum really have to sit and think hard about what they are putting at risk in terms of the prestige of the institution, not necessarily themselves as individuals, because of course each partisan group is willing to say it's only the other guys who are causing the problems, but weakening the court as an institution, weakening its capacity to do its work, to stand beyond the legislature or above it as a check on the legislative and executive branches of government. At the moment, it appears more like kind of a junior partner being ordered around or proxies for the political parties. So one thing that has to happen is I think the justices really have to think hard about this notion of judicial temperament and dignity and decorum. And I do think that another thing is that it is high time we reconsidered the system of judicial elections that we have in Wisconsin. It worked very well for a very long time. I think there's a lot of evidence that in the last 10 years it's become broken. And I don't mean to point to this incident as a sign of that fact, but the general increase in bitter partisanship and specifically political partisanship, I think is all tied to that breakdown.
Much more to talk about. Howard, thank you so much for coming in.